Archaeological research has now shown that Qin Shi Huang's book burning was not just about burning books related to Confucian sages. Qin Shi Huang's actual intention was to burn all the battles related to politics, military struggles, including the art of war games in the military, and so on, to ensure that there is no longer a civilian reserve of those that can be used to help rebel and arm. Books of struggle. But Qin Shi Huang's book burning did not burn the book Zhou Yi, because according to the Time of View, the book Zhou Yi, it is mainly a book of divination, that is, a book on prediction, not about political and military struggles, books of Confucian sages. However, according to the research of Mr. Nan Huijin, a master of modern Chinese studies, on Zhou Yi, we know that Zhou Yi actually contains a wealth of political, military, and philosophical knowledge, and the Yi Jing in Zhou Yi is just a branch of Zhou Yi's research on prediction. The results obtained by using the 64 hexagrams and 6 hexagrams contained in the Yi Jing are finally needed in explanation and validation by Yi Chuan in Zhou Yi. On the other hand, Yi Chuan is a work that contains strong philosophical ideas. Now it seems that Qin Shi Huang may have another profound meaning in leaving Zhou Yi, because the emergence of Zhou Yi itself shows the folk word of mouth of the ancient knowledge passed down could not be completely destroyed by a single incineration, and the immortality technique that the Qin emperor admired might have to be relied on. Zhou Yi gets inspired. After the Qin emperor, ancient political and military strategists, forecasters, and modern archaeologists through the study of Zhaoji. Basically, the three major knowledge groups contained in Zhou Yi have been sorted out. 1. Qimen Dunjia. 2. 6 Rennuo. 3. Tai. Qimen Dunjia mainly talks about prediction and fighting in political and military struggles. The main person who studied and developed the system theory knowledge from Zhou Yi and named it Qimen Dunjia was Zhuge Liang. But since Zhuge Liang discovered this systematic theoretical knowledge from Zhou Yi and recorded it in his own words, all feudal emperors after the Three Kingdoms period have banned Qimen Dunjia. The reason is simple. If the common people learn it and use it to rebel, there will be no peace in the country. Tai is a treatise on medical techniques closely related to the Yellow Emperor's Neijing. The medical theory evolved from Zhu Yi is comparable to modern medical technology. The fact that ancient medicine is wonderful also shows that ancient human civilization has a deep understanding of human health as the modern human beings. Speaking of which, some readers must ask, why did the ancient emperors have many doctors serving them, but few of them lived long lives? This is because the court physicians with excellent medical skills in ancient times had usually medical skills that had been passed down from generation to generation, ancestral. And the first two theories that famous medical experts to learn are the Yellow Emperor's Neijing, and the other is Yi Jing. When doctors learn Yi Jing, there are 3 points are a must learn. 1. Virtue comes first in everything. A person who is proficient in divination knows the changes of heaven and earth, knows the unpredictable human affairs, and knows most from everything. If you use to harm people in the dark, the consequences will be unimaginable. Doctors regard curing diseases and saving lives as virtue, and must not harm people with medical skills. 2. Those who study Yi should be virtuous. This is the theory of karma. Yi divination is a predictive science based on the law of the 5 elements in the world, which explains the law of change in the world. If a doctor knows this law in advance through divination, and helps others escape disasters, then the disasters that others have to endure will be transferred to the doctor. Simply put, the doctor breaks the normal law of the 5 elements of others. Then, whoever breaks this law and allows others to gain blessings will likely suffer misfortune. Although there is some superstition here, after learning Yi, ancient doctors generally follow the principle of saying what should be said and never saying what should not be said. 3. Modesty. Among the 64 hexagrams in the Yi Jing, there is a hexagram called modesty. Doctors who have learned real skills should not be arrogant and conceited, because they know the changes of heaven, earth, and human affairs. This is the most taboo. Many imperial doctors actually knew that a certain emperor would die of a certain disease in the future before the emperor was seriously ill. However, the imperial doctors believed that the will of heaven could not be violated, and diseases that could be cured by medicine could not be directly stated or used directly. For example, we know that Emperor Tongzhi of the Qing dynasty had smallpox. The imperial doctors knew that there was medicine to cure the disease when it first occurred, but they did not dare to say it directly or use medicine. This is an example. This does not mean that the imperial doctors are all mediocre doctors. It is actually a fear of the Yi Jing by the doctors. It also makes future generations see that this is indeed a tragedy of feudal emperors. Among the three major knowledge groups of Zhouyi, only Sixren is truly related to the prediction of sudden events in non-inertial systems that we are talking about in stock trading. The above Qimen Dengjie and Tai Yi have little to do with this article, so I will omit them. Sixren evolved from the divination in the Yi Jing. It is an integration of the theories and methods of our usual astrology, hexagram divination, prediction of good and bad luck, wealth and feng shui, etc. The main ancient researchers and pioneers of the method are the following. As long as we talk about ancient Chinese forecasters, the ones that everyone is familiar with are Li Chunfeng and Yuan Tiangang of the Tang Dynasty, because they are the authors of Pushback Pictures, Tui Bei Tu. Unlike the chronicles written by the famous Western prophet Nostradamus, Tui Bei Tu does not disrupt the order of history, and the predictions are all about the rise and fall of the country. So it is more valuable for research, and its accuracy is higher. The Tui Bei Tu we can see today is the annotated version of Jin Shengtan, a scholar during the Qianlong period of the Qing dynasty. It was originally in the Taipei Ancient Palace Museum. There are many theories about the origin of Tui Bei Tu. One of the more popular theories is, one day Li Chunfeng and Yuan Tiangang were drinking together. When they were in a good mood, they had the following conversation. Li Chunfeng said, "Under the heaven, we two know everything. We both regard wealth and glory as dirt. So why not leave something for future generations?" Yuan Tiangang said, "I observed the sky at night, and the fate of our Tang dynasty will be that Empress Wu will seize power in the future. If we look back, the world is complicated and changes in a moment, like the brilliance of the morning star." Li Chunfeng said, "Then you grind the ink, and I pick up the pen. We will predict the future of the world today. Isn't it fun?" Li Chunfeng was so excited that he talked about the chronology of major events in various dynasties, from the Tang, Song, Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasties to the year 2000. Yuan Tiangang suddenly woke up, pushed Li Chunfeng's back with his hand, and shouted, "Stop! The secret has been revealed." Li Chunfeng suddenly woke up, sweating all over, and even sobered up from the alcohol, but the words he wrote could not be erased. The name of the so-called Tui Bei Tu, pushback picture, comes from this. Some later scholars do not believe in prediction and divination. They say that the Tui Bei Tu is a forgery, which was created by later generations such as Jin Shengtan, a Qing dynasty scholar, to confuse the world and ridicule the Qing dynasty rulers. But the scholars who refuted it said, if it was indeed a forgery by Jin Shengtan, then the Tui Bei Tu should only be up to the Qianlong period of the Qing dynasty. How could it be pushed to the year 2000 in one breath? There are also Taiwanese scholars who went directly to the National Palace Museum in Taiwan and compared the original Tui Bei Tu with Jin's Tui Bei Tu and said, the two versions are completely consistent. Since the Tang Dynasty, several more famous prophets have appeared in Chinese history. During the 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms and the early years of the Song Dynasty, there was a hermit named Chen Tuan, who said that he had obtained a book called Xing Yi Xin Fa from a Taoist priest who lived in seclusion. According to Chen Tuan, the Taoist priest dressed in square clothes and linen, so later generations called him hemp clothes Shinto. The Zheng Yi Xin Fa, passed down by the hemp clothes Shinto, is hard to find today. Today, people who study the Yi Jing and prediction methods usually use another version of the book passed down by the hemp clothes Shinto called Huozhulin. However, according to many scholars, it is also said that Huozhulin is also a forged work by later generations, and it is not necessarily the true teaching of hemp-clothes Shinto. Regardless of whether the authenticity is true or not, for those who study the Yijing prediction method today, Huozhulin is said to be a compulsory course in the introductory course. Talking about this with several stock trading experts, I had a question. I said, I often hear many newcomers to learn the Yijing prediction method complain that the Yijing or Huozhulin looks obscure and difficult to understand. Not to mention the classical Chinese, the sentences are not connected and the meaning is not conveyed. Not to mention learning, it is very difficult to understand. As soon as I asked the question here, a friend over there laughed.
Dear friends, this episode of the video has ended. The next episode will be played in a few days. Don't forget to like and subscribe before leaving.